Good day, everyone, especially to our instructor, Mr. Anthony Gamali. Good day, sir. I am Jacobe Gomez, a third year criminology student from Baliwagan, Balingasag, Misamis Oriental. Today, I'm going to report the toxicology. Toxicology is a scientific study of poisons, their nature, properties, effects, and detection, and the treatment in case of poisoning. Toxicology deals with poisons, their origin, physical and chemical properties, effects, and treatment, and methods of detection. Frequently, toxicological examinations are requested in cases of sudden and unexplained deaths. The internal organs and contents obtained during the medico-legal autopsy are the usual specimen submitted, as well as the suspected source of the poison such as food, drinks, or medicine. If not fatal, the victims' blood and urine of the victims are examined. In cases of mass food poisoning, identification of the poison by the laboratory is important. Not only investigation but more in the treatment of the victims. Internal organs and other parts of animals, chicken, dog, cat, etc., too are received frequently in connection with complaints of malicious mischief. And importance of toxicology to verify if it's a case of poisoning, to be able to treat as the occasion demands, to forward justice. The reason for the application of toxicology is to determine the presence of volatile, volatile, non-volatile, and metallic poisons in cases of alleged poisoning. Poison. Poison is a substance that when introduced into or absorbed by a living organism causes death or injury. Poison Poison is a substance capable of producing adverse effects on an individual under appropriate conditions. Adverse effects refers to the injury, structural damage of tissues, and an appropriate condition means the dosage of the substance that is sufficient to cause this adverse effect. And there are types of poisons. Number one, true poison. True poison is one that still poisons no matter how diluted it is. And number two, corrosive poison is one which by contrast with it chemically produce local destruction of tissues. And number three, cumulative poison is one that increases suddenly in its intensity of action after gradual addition of it. And example, hydrogen cyanide and nitric acid, mercuric chloride acid poison used as herbicides. And types of poisoning. Acute poisoning. One in which there is prompt and marked disturbance of function of death within a shorter period of time, and is due to taking a strong poison, excessive single dose, and several doses, small but frequent. And chronic poisoning, kind of poisoning in which there is gradual deterioration of functions of tissues and may or may not result in death. It may be produced by taking several small doses at long intervals and taking only toxic doses of the drugs. And there are three major case load areas. Number 1, police cases. Toxicological aspect of criminal investigations. And number 2, post-mortem cases. Analytical studies in support of the medical examiner to determine the cause of death. And number 3, drug abuse cases resulting from the illegal use of drugs. Evidence of poisoning. There are 5 evidence of poisoning. Number 1, circumstantial or moral evidence. Circumstantial or moral evidence is an evidence deduct from occurrence of facts or circumstances. Example, motives from poisoning. Purchasing the poison, keeping the material used, this is not strong evidence. And number 2, symptomatic evidence. This includes that symptoms observed during the poisoning. This is not conclusive because some diseases may show similar symptoms as those of poisoning. Example, arsenic poisoning is like cholera. Alcohol coma may simulate diabetic coma. And number 3, chemical evidence. This is evidence obtained by chemical analysis of the suspected substance or the vomit or secretion of the body. This alone is not reliable because the poison may be decomposed or changed, or it may have been replaced after death. And post-mortem evidence. This evidence is obtained from an examination of tissues and organs after death. There are many poisons, however, that do not produce characteristic findings. Also, the findings may be like those produced by diseases. And last, experimental evidence. Experimental evidence is obtained by administering the suspected substance to some living animal and nothing the effect of or symptoms. This alone is also not conclusive because the tolerance may not be the same as in man. And methods of examination. The examination may be divided in two stages, namely isolation and identification. Number one, isolation. When the submitted specimen is impure from the poison must be isolated. This procedure does not only limit the search to a manageable class of poison but also reduce the inference from other substances that may occur during the identification stage. Poison may be classified according to their method of isolation as volatile poison, non-volatile poison, and metallic poisons. Volatile poisons isolated by extraction with alcohol and chloroform, and non-volatile poisons isolated by extraction with organic solvents such as strychnine and other alkaloids. Metallic poisons, there are poisons such as arsenic, mercury, and lead. D. Other substance requiring special methods of isolation like corrosive aids and identification. The method employed for the identification of poison is specific. Preliminary tests should be conducted such as tests include microscopic examination and flame test. Then confirmatory tests should be performed to establish the presence of poisons. As in the other analysis mentioned earlier, modern instruments like infrared spectrophotometer and gas chromatograph can be used in the confirmatory test. And history of modern toxicology. Paracelsus, German Swiss physician alchemist, first stressed the chemical nature of poison and its action by experimentation. He introduced those concepts. Proof: Matteo Orfila, 19th century, attending physician to Louis, correlated chemistry of toxins with the biological effects it produces in a poisoned individual. And there are four elements of poisoning. Number one, poison. Number two, the poisoned organism and the injury to the cells, the symptoms, and the signs of death. Classification of poisons. Classification based on origin. Animal toxin, a poison produced by living organism stimulating antibodies usually transferred through bites and stings of venomous terrestrial or marine animals. Vegetable poison, vegetable poison, vegetable poisons, ivy and Jamesonweed plants. Mineral, hydraulic acid, caustic alkali. Mineral. Micro Microbial. Mana. Produced by microscopic organisms, example, bacteria or fungi. And number 5, synthetic, manufactured by chemists such as drugs, pesticides, as well as chemical purified from natural sources such as metals from ores and solvents from gasoline. And according to chemical properties, violated poisons, volatile poisons, poisonous compounds that can be isolated using steams, distillation, and analyzed using gas chromatography with thermal head attached on it. Example, acidic medium, cyanide, ethanol, methanol, and nitrobenzene. And non-volatile poisons, most drugs are non-volatile. And anions, metallic, miscellaneous, pesticides. And classification based on physical from property. Number 1, solid. Solid not well absorbed into the blood. They must be dissolved in aqueous liquid lining the intestinal tract if ingested, or respiratory tract if inhaled. Number 2, liquid, gas, vapor, and aerosol. Then D, according to action, psychological. Number 1, irritants. By direct contact, this poison inflames the mucous membrane or the parts it comes in contact with, resulting the nausea, vomiting, pain, and diarrhea. Example, bromine. Through irritants, bromine, chloride, cotton oil. And number 2, corrosive. By direct contact, chemical produce local destruction of tissues. Example, phenol, HCI, HN2, caustic soda. And number 3, neurocortics, those that affect the central nervous system. A, cerebral neurotics, narcotics, including dizziness, sleep, stupor, complete or incomplete insensibility, or loss of feeling. Example, alcohol, opium, and tobacco. B, spinal neurotic tetanics, a poison that acts on the spinal cord, producing spasmodic or continuous contraction of muscles, resulting in stiffening of the parts to which they are attached. Example is stretching picrotusin. C, cerebrospinal neurocortex. And Deliriants are poison that act on the brain, causing disorder of mental functions resulting to confusion of free will. Example, cannabis, marijuana, and cocaine. Depressant, a substance that depress or retard the psychological action of an organ. Example, antipyrine or lobelia. And number 4, aesthetic exhaustive poison that cause marked loss of vital or muscular power or general weakness. And example is acunite and di- digital digitalis. And according to their effect on the body, target sites. Number 1, those which cause local destruction, skin penal. Number 2, blood poisons, carbon monoxide, hydrogen cyanide. Number 3, nervous poisons, nervous system. And number 4, cardiac poisons, cardiovascular system, stop the heartbeat, digitalis, antipyrine. And factors in determining the dissolution rate. Number 1, solubility, and number 2, size of granules. Solubility of the drugs. In order for a substance to act as poison, it must be capable of forming solution and readily absorbed by the blood. Barium chloride, which is readily soluble, is extremely toxic, while barium sulfate is not, because it is insoluble. And dose. As a rule, the greater the size, greater the effect. This is not always true. Arsenic in large close innervates the stomach, causing vomiting and prompt ejection of the poison, so that few or no symptoms, resulting small dose absorption occurs and produce fatal effects. And the physical state of form of poison. The physical states or form of poisons. A poison is more rapidly absorbed when it is in gaseous state than in solid or liquid form. Also, the solvent containing the poison exerts a marked effect upon its action. Thus, between alcoholic, watery, or oily solution, the first is more rapidly absorbed. Dilution. Generally, When a poison is diluted, the absorption is rapid, thus resulting to intense toxic effects. An exception to this is in the case of corrosive poisons. Corrosive poisons produce less toxic effect when diluted. Mode of administration. Basically, poison is more rapidly absorbed when injected in the vein than when taken orally. The intravenous route produces more rapid effects. Association Association with other poisons. Association with other kinds of poisons may increase the toxic effect. For instance, micropine and crural together has greater effect than alone. Also, where the blood supply is greater, such as in muscle, absorption is more rapid. Hence, absorption is more rapid in muscles than in skin. Food in the stomach may delay absorption or reacts with the poison. Entrance and elimination of poisons. Poison may enter the body through mouth, skin, nose and eyes, rectum and vagina, hypodermically, intravenously, and they may be eliminated by emesis, respiration, feces, urine, milk, sweat, saliva, and tears. Psychology. Ay, Pusology. Pusology is Pusology and medicine. Pusology is a science which deals with the study of the dosage of medicine to be administered within a certain period. Medicine is any substance which can be administered to correct or alleviate the disease or disorder state of the system. Dose is quantity of medicine to be administered at one time. The dosage concept is important. Whether a drug acts as a therapy or poison, it will be depend on the dose. Even water is poisonous if too much is ingested. And types of dose. Safe dose is one that does not cause harmful effects. Sometimes, however, it may be too small to produce the desired effects. And minimum dose is the smallest amount of medicine that can produce the desired therapeutic effect without causing harm. Maximum dose is the largest amount that will cause no injury but at the same time produce the desired therapeutic effects. And toxic or poisonous dose is one that is harmful both to the healthy and sick. Healthy, the sick. Lethal or fatal dose is the dose that kills. Antidotes. Antidotes is any agent that neutralize a poison or otherwise counteracts or opposes its effects. Action. To act as an antidote, it may be remove the poison from the body. Imitate, it may be mechanically prevent its absorption. Cathartic, it may be change the physical state or chemical composition. For barium, it may act upon the functions of the body so as to overcome the effects of its absorption. And there are kinds of antidotes. Chemical or true or specific. And chemical antidote or antidote measure, and sociological antidote or antagonist or symptomatic antidote. Chemical, true or specific. Chemical, true or specific antidote is one that makes the poison harmless by chemically altering it. Chemical antidote or antidotal measure is an agent that removes the poison without changing it. Cause the cause coats the surface of the organ so that absorption is prevented. Stomach tube and pump. Precipitants, ligatures, washes, injections, poultries. Psychological antidote symptomatic is an agent that acts upon the system so as to counteract the effects of the poison. And chloral for symptomatic convulsions. Emetex is an agent that causes vomiting, and Karatic is an agent that produces intestinal evacuation. Use of Karatics. Cathartics. To remove the compound that is formed by the action of the chemical antidote. To hasten elimination of poison. Demulcent is an agent that forms a protective film, soothes and protects the parts where demulcent is applied. Precipitants are substances that prevent absorptions of poisons by precipitating them and rendering them insoluble. Causes of death and poisoning. Number 1, cardiac failure. And number 2, respiratory failure. Number 3, general devitalizing. And 4, shock to the nervous system. And that's all. Thank you.